Welcome to the second video in the series, How to Catherine, a compilation that is meant to help you become a better climber, hopefully. I'm your host, Shas, and today we will begin talking more about the advanced game mechanics and combos that are available to you in Catherine. Please note that I will not be repeating any of the topics covered in Pen Ninja's video, found here. Please watch that before you advance onto this video, it'll make a lot more sense. Included in the description are timestamps to specific sections that may be useful to you. Now let's begin. First, here are some more combos that you can use in Catherine to make your game rise above your fellow sheep. The first is the pull and stomp. When players have the block they are standing on pulled out from underneath of them, they suffer landing lag. During this landing lag, the puller can rise on top of the block that they pulled, and thus get a dropkick on their opponent. This is a very strong and fundamental tactic in Catherine. One thing to note about this technique, however, is that blue sheep is able to avoid getting dropkicked if they remain still on the block that is pulled. If blue sheep is moving on or off of that block, then it is still a true combo, thus baiting still works. The partner to the pull and stomp is the push and hit, wherein a player pushes a block out from beneath their opponent and gets a half hit. Obviously, this is less strong than the pull and stomp. However, this is still a really strong option, as this gives the pusher the high ground. Furthermore, as a trade-off of being less powerful, this is a more common situation overall. Due to the nature of pulling, if you are at the end of a landing, then pulling can lead you to a disadvantageous position, as you will be forced to spider. Furthermore, if there is a block on the other side of you, then you will be unable to pull at all. Thus, even when the pull and stomp is unavailable to you, the push and hit remains a viable option. A separate idea from the push and hit, yet closely related, is the idea of the Anakin, one of the strongest techniques discovered, and knowing how to set up a situation where you are able to perform the Anakin is sure to greatly improve your game. The Anakin is when there is a T-block formation, that is, one block resting in the middle of a landing of 3. By standing atop the center block, if the player has good reaction times, they are able to watch over both sides of the block at once. This can very well be a checkmate kind of move. See if you can create this situation with the push and hit. The next bit of the video I will be talking about game mechanics. Now, one of the most dangerous situations that can happen in Catherine is the pin, when there are 2 or more blocks on the same X coordinate, or when there is depth to a layer. You may have noticed by now that every time you hit a player in Catherine, they fall the same way, often described as toward the screen, but really this means along the x-axis and along the z-axis. Therefore, if you hit someone on one of the back blocks of a layer, something very interesting happens. The player is unable to complete the z-axis movement, so they simply drop to the ground. During this period, you may occupy the same space as them, preventing them from getting up. This is a situation where being orange or blue sheep matters, as blue can simply stand atop the opponent until the stage falls out, while orange has to rise another level in order to ensure the win. Most players keep track of when to rise by counting out 9 head bobs. The next technique I'm going to talk about is climb canceling. Normally in Catherine, a player is locked into their movement once they start. However, when going up and down between floors, you have the opportunity to cancel your movement via a grab. The window for doing so is somewhat generous, although the frame data is currently unknown. Using this to cancel your upward movement is called climb canceling, and can be useful for canceling a movement onto a block that is getting removed from under you. Another use is possibly utilizing this technique to try to bait out attacks from your opponent, trying to get them to come off of their high ground. The other technique that derives from climb canceling is dropkick canceling, where you cancel your downward movement via a grab. Utilizing this method can effectively allow you to throw your hitbox more or less, and let you get dropkicks without leaving your area. The window for this is tighter than normal climb canceling, but the uses are apparent. The next thing to talk about is altered state, and this is a big one, which is very important to recognize in Catherine. You may have noticed that some attacks leave you with landing lag. This is especially true for hits that send you down multiple floors. However, for hits that only send you down one level, you are able to cancel your landing lag via a grab. This is what allows for the Dragon Punch technique. However, when a player performs a cancel to their landing lag, the player gets put into a state called altered state, or sometimes fallen stall. During this state, the next time a player goes to spider on a block, they will finish their earlier cancellation and thus continue to fall. This makes pulling blocks very dangerous, as well as converting half hits to full hits, meaning that pillow hits are a lot more dangerous. Sketchy state is named after Meister Sketches, the player who discovered it. This volatile state occurs if one player, hanging on the back end of a block, is knocked off and later down the tower is able to recover. The player behaves normally until they are hit. Once they get hit, they stand frozen in their spot. This makes it possible to pin without the use of a deep landing. The player also behaves strangely after being hit, but the effects are not always consistent. This is a very rare and unexplored situation to occur. The last technique I'd like to talk about is walking on sunshine. The way items function in Catherine is that when you use an item, the item is registered as being in space before it leaves your inventory or is even visible. Thus, if a player is able to predict when and where you are going to use your item, they can utilize it for themselves. This could be in the form of climbing on top and getting a dropkick, which if done early enough, will return the item to your inventory. This can also be used to spider along the edges of the block you spawned in before it is visible in the game. That concludes the first part of this video. I consider these techniques to be some of the most important as you begin to take your gameplay to higher levels. The next video will deal with more situational techniques that are not available in every level. Please consider following me on Twitter or my own personal channel for more Catherine related content. Until next time, keep climbing.